Now, we're starting now a new year. We're starting Parshas. We just came from Parshas Bereshis. Today's Yom Afal that today's Bem is Yom Revi, but Shabbos Wednesday, which is called in Chazal Kamei Shabbat, before Parshas Noach. But still, there's a Orach Chaim in Parshas Bereshis. I didn't really intend to bring this; it just entered my mind now. That Hashem only made the week, the world for a week. And then afterwards, Shabbos gives in chiyus for the next whole week. So Shabbos has in it, under the Kedushas, Shabbos puts chiyus, puts life into the world to go on another week.
Yeah, this Orach Chaim HaKodesh is Shagura B'Peh Rav Moshe Wolfson Shlita.
Oh, yeah. So I'm still mentioning Parshas Bereshis. Now, what I want to say is like this. We're now coming from Bereshis, we're starting Parshas Noach, and we're starting a new year. Today's Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan, which is it's like you could say it's the month of getting back into the routine, into what's called Shigra in Lashon HaKodesh. And I want to start a new series which I want to call it Tzichas Chulun Shel Talmidei Chachomim. Why not Shel Talmid Chacham? Because there's another Talmid Chacham sitting here with us. At least he thinks he's a Talmid Chacham, or at least he thinks he's big enough to criticize Talmidei Chacham. So we're allowed to call him also a Talmid Chacham. And we're having sichas between us. Of course, I'm doing 98% of the talking. And it's B'dafkin not so much prepared. I'm not saying not prepared at all. I'm not so mezalzel in the people. I do think a little bit I'm prepared, but not a serious preparation, because this is Sichas Chulin Shel Talmidei Chachomim. Now, Sichas Chulin Shel Talmidei Chachomim, says the Gemara, Tzricha Limud. Now, I would say that Sichas Chulin literally means secular talk. Is that a good translation? Or you can find a better translation? Nah, just regular talk. Now, I would say there's a certain level which Talmidei Chachomim never talk about. There's a certain level in their conversation. I don't think Talmidei Chachomim ever talk about prices of apartments, or prices of motorcycles, or of cars, or of tomatoes. They don't talk about these subjects, not because they're not. They made a conscious decision not to talk about it, because they can't talk about it, because it's too boring, it's too empty, it's too meaningless. Talmidei Chachomim can only talk meaningful talk. They could sit around and schmooze. They could sit even and drink together. But it'll always be conversation about a meaningful topic. It'll be politics even. So even then, it won't be that he's doing this because he has a cheshbon that he wants votes, so he's doing it because that. It'll always be more meaningful than that. That's Sichas Chulin Shel Talmidei Chachomim. And b'derech klal, I think, the Sichas Chulin Shel Talmidei Chachomim is full of divrei Torah. That means they're talking in divrei Torah. I mean, maybe you could say this is like even a higher level of Sichas Chulin Shel Talmidei Chachomim. They're talking about life, but they're talking Chazal. They're talking with Chazal. Like, reminds me of a story that happened 5 minutes ago. I just got a call. Now, this is Sichas Chulin Shel Talmidei Chachomim. That means I'm allowed to talk about myself, and I'm allowed to tell stories, because we're starting a new year, and it's a new series. A person comes in, I got a call just now from a friend that I didn't talk to for years. And And I grew up with the first friend I had when I came to Eretz Yisrael. And every time, if I talked to him once in a few years, that connection, the strong, deep connection of Yemei HaNeurim comes back.
Girsdi Ankusa.
Girsdi Ankusa. Your friend, Yedidim from Neurim is a different thing. So comes in a person, and he says, no. Give me that attention. And he's right. I mean, on one hand, he's right. He has to get back. But so
you also were Koveya with him.
And I was Koveya with the person. So I said, yeah, so he has a good point. But, so I started saying, but the Chazal say, La'olam yehei odom erach kekona. Be soft like a reed that it bends. Bend yourself. Yeah, you're right. But be rach kekona.
Like our brothers the Israelis say, Al tiyeh chacham, al tiyeh tzadek tiyeh chacham.
Oh, that's close, but it's not exactly the same. Now, over there it's talking about how to, like, what's better, what's more useful for life to be zorem. Since being a chacham, it'll be, things will flow better. That's what it means. Okay. Now, that's called Sichas Chunshot HaMidcham. We discussed what should a person do in such a case. So we based our conversation on our discussion on Chazal. We didn't just say, I want. Of course, in the middle I said, you owe me, this, that. But it goes with Chazal. That's Sichas Chunshot HaMidcham. By the way, I heard a story about Rab Simcha Zelig Rieger of Brisk, the Moro Rav of Brisk, was Adam Gadol. He was probably close to, I don't know, you can't measure, but he was a friend of Rab Chaim Brisker, so you can imagine what that is. He's the only person that's quoted in Rab Chaim Brisker's Sefer. So it's the only person alive at that time that he quotes. And Kemat, he doesn't quote any Achronim. It's once Achsam Sofer and once Minchas Chinuch, maybe, I think. But he quotes him twice, I think, in this Rashaz. The Rashaz said, Rab Simcha Zelig. So once he was on the street, and a Meshugner came up to him and said, is my Kiddushin Chal? I don't know what kind of Meshugner he was, but he said, if I make Kiddushin, does it Chal? So he said, yeah, it's Chal. So he said, so say that your paskening that my Kiddushin is Chal. So he said, I pasken that your Kiddushin is Chal. So then he keeps walking with him, the Meshugner, and says, okay, so is my Kiddushin Chal? And so he says, yeah. So say that you pasken that it's Chal. So, okay, I pasken that it's Chal. And like that he kept going over and over and over again. I didn't let go of him, and he went into the house with him, and he kept saying it over and over. Simcha Zelig finally was exhausted, it must have been at night, and he went to sleep. He laid in bed, and in the bed he says to him, so say that my Kiddushin is Chal. Say your Kiddushin is Chal. And I don't know what happened afterwards. Maybe he fell asleep, and he was potter already. So they asked him, what do you let yourself? What do you let yourself like nowadays? Nobody, people think he's crazy that he lets himself. So he said, you know what he answered? La'olam yehayodom rach kekona. I heard this story from Rav Tzvi Meir. La'olam, always. La'olam means maybe nitzchit, forever. You should always be rach kekona. Can you imagine the tzidkis of this person? Can you imagine the greatness of such a yid? And anyway, I knew a person that he and his wife had together a joint account in money in America in a bank, and it was like let's say $25,000, maybe it was. The money came through the wife, but they were both what's it called? It was, the account was on the name of both of them. And one day the wife came to the husband and said to him, go and sign papers that you're Mavater and how do you say in English? You're not anymore, it's not on your name anymore. I don't know how to say it. give up your chayla. So the husband went and he signed right away, didn't say anything, and he did it and finished.
Rav Caplan.
And why? Because then he said, Lolam Ye'adam Rach Kikana. So he did. And then later the wife started telling him, well, you can't take that money to marry off the children. It's not your money. So he said, of course it's not my money, but to marry off children I can't. And even then he kept quiet and just shook his head and ate his heart out. But the Amos says, Arach Kikana wouldn't eat his heart out either. And this person wasn't on that madrega, so he ate his heart out. Anyway, now I want to start a new series called Sichas Chunz. I want to say like this. You learn Parshas Bereishis.
11:30.
You expect we're starting a world. Parshas Bereishis is telling us about how Hashem created a world. Parshas Noach is a continuation of that world. You would expect that for a few thousand years things should go smoothly. And afterwards, things should start going wrong. But Hashem made a perfect world, you would think. What happens? What happens? You start off Parshas Bereishis. Very good, you learn the Sheshis Bereishis, everything is all right, everything.
Kitra Gayareach.
Oh, right. Even over there, there's Kitra Gayareach, and then there's the Eitz Osepri. It didn't come out exactly. It wasn't Tama Eitz Ketama Pri. Of course, it's so Torah to really understand it. You have to know the Chelik HaSod Torah. I don't know if it's Shaykh how people should understand these things, but it's Chazal. We have to learn Chazal. Even in the Sheshis, you made Bereshis, not everything went perfect. The Yareach was Megnai, he was supposed to be the same, and then was Nismayet. The Yareach failed. The Eitz Osepri failed. He wasn't Eitz Ketama Pri. And what happened in then? Vayarlukim Kol Hashoso V'hinei Tov Me'od. Not Stam Tov. Everything is wonderful. It's perfect. Come Chazal say Zeh Yitzhar, Zeh Yom HaMovos. Everything is perfect. But that's all. This is Midrashim. But you go a little bit further. You have to Eitz Hadas, Odom Arishin, Misof Olam Vad Sofo. Bikshu Malach HaSharis to say Shira in front of him. The Chazal Eitz from the Eitz Hadas. In such a way he goes and listens to his wife. What? And there's I heard a Hasidic word from Rav Caplan. He says, Ki shomata lekol ishtecha. When Hashem was punishing Adam Arishon, so how did Hashem start? So you're going to have, so he says, you Erev Shabbos, we're holding close to Shabbos. The Kedushas Shabbos is about to enter. And you could hear what she's talking in such a time. Kishomata lekol ishtecha, you were able to hear. Finished, you lost, you failed. Comes the next generation, Cain and Hevel. And he kills him. Chanoch, v'einenu ki lo kachal shelakim. V'yiru b'nei Elokim es b'nei Yisrael miklam noshim mikol sher b'chor. And Hashem said, I can't take this anymore. K'vi she'ev v'hoyom eves v'shonu v'yomer. V'yinochem Hashem ki asher es adam b'aretz k'biyochol. Hashem himself, his plan also didn't work out. And then you go next parsha, Ador Mabel, the whole world gets horrible. Now, this is how you start. This is how you start a Torah. This is how you start a world. This is how you start a Yiddishkeit, a religion, a das. Now, I don't want to start going into saying we're better than the Notrim, we're better. There was a certain rabbi used to talk like that. I don't want to talk like that. But what I want to say is like this. Let's ask ourselves. If we were to give
12 seconds.
The Torah a name, what name would we give it? What title would we give this book, especially Bereshis?